Hey guys, this is sphamedia here once again, and today I thought I'd talk about something that one of my subscribers has been asking for quite a while. He wanted me to cover what's been happening in the Assassin's Creed franchise, and I thought that was a really interesting topic, so let's go ahead with it. This isn't going to really be a retrospective in the franchise. I'm just going to be talking about why I think the franchise is failing and why a lot of people have just dropped off the fandom. So before we get into the fall of Assassin's Creed, I think it would be important to point out that it's one of the most prominent gaming franchises of the past 10 years. And if you don't know what Assassin's Creed is, it's a parkour combat style game with stealth options, kind of like Prince of Persia, and it blew up with its first release soon after the release of the Xbox 360. People really liked the smooth wall climbing of the game and the immersive story that was getting portrayed. And with the next set of games, Ubisoft just took that and turned it to 11 with Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. They introduced more interesting characters. They gave more character development to the character Desmond, which is the character that ties the whole franchise together, right up until the third game. And they really did put an emphasis on graphics and gameplay, which a lot of developers had forgotten was important, the gameplay component of the game, but still maintained the graphical standards that we came to know from the Xbox 360. But then that went to shit. Now, the Assassin's Creed community have actually been under debate on when and how this actually happened, but I feel like I saw the beginning of the end of the franchise with Revelations, the last installment for the Ezio arc. At this point, people still had a phenomenal amount of faith in the franchise, but unfortunately I think with the third release of the Ezio arc, they needed a fresh face. They'd finished the story, they'd kept him on just for bucks, they just did it for money. It was a shame. But on top of that, the game had a lot of additional gameplay factors that people just weren't keen on, like the crafting system for the bombs and the tower defense minigame that never really took off and nobody really used whilst playing the game. But I think for the future, the problem that this game created was that they'd written themselves into a corner and they really didn't know where they were going to take the franchise. I mean, in the flashbacks where you're the assassin Ezio, the story seemed a little lackluster, and when you played as Desmond, it just got really confusing and it wasn't enjoyable as a story-driven medium. But that's just one game, right? What's wrong with just one game? Every franchise is allowed one bad game. Fucking no. Assassin's Creed 3 came out, they realised Ezio had to die at some point, right? Fair enough. But what did they swap out for the majesty of Italian architecture and the charm of Ezio as a character? They swapped it out with a non-character that is completely defined by his Native American origins and his father, who was actually a Templar, that no one really liked, either playing as him or watching his character develop as you played with Connor. And what about the architecture in Italy? They swapped it out for really generic trees that didn't give you that free-roaming feeling that the buildings gave you, and almost brought the game to a halt. It was the first game where I felt like I was running on the ground rather than leaping from building to building or tree to tree, which could have potentially happened. And as for Desmond, well, he becomes Jesus. I'm not fucking joking, guys. He just becomes Jesus. At the end of the game, they play him off like he's going to save the survivors of the apocalypse, writing Bible 2.0, and becomes the new Jesus. God damn it, why would you want that? That's not really what this franchise was about. It had the Eden complex, it had the biblical references, but it was never about Desmond becoming Jesus. It was about Desmond recreating the assassins for the new generation. But for some mental reason, 4 came out even though they'd written in the apocalypse. This is when I personally lost interest in the franchise, and a lot of people who liked the games did the same as I did, but a lot of new people came into the franchise because they really liked the boat mechanics, because boat battles were really, really cool. It felt like a boat simulator, but it didn't feel like an Assassin's Creed game. I mean, I personally felt that the boats were really tedious. I felt like the combat was few and far between, and unless you were a real perfectionist, you didn't really get to fast travel all that much in the game. But don't worry, new fans, you get fucked over later, because when 4 came out, the franchise was still really, really strong, and it was most certainly making its money back. That was until Unity. Yes, Unity, one of the shittiest games I have ever played in my life. It was so bad that Ubisoft couldn't even give it away. It was actually so bad that as an apology, Ubisoft had to give away games, relatively new games, to make it up to the people who had pre-ordered it on certain platforms. The trust was gone for the franchise, and realistically, I think that's what killed the franchise. Trust. Sure, they brought out new games, and they keep going with the franchise. It's even a massive component of what's selling the new console generation. But the people who are still buying it can go and throw their money at a barely functional game. I'll go and keep my money back for a game of Snakes and Ladders, right? But that was my thoughts on Assassin's Creed. I hope you enjoyed it, man. If you guys could like, subscribe and comment, I'm always keen to talk to my fans, and I would really love some feedback on my content. But I'll see you guys next time.